interview, an important money-making strategy was delivered in only a couple sentences. Because of the speaker's brevity, the approach may have been overlooked despite its high value. So I want to dig deeper into it before we dive into today's interview, just briefly. So that strategy was building a nationwide referral network, which is a critical step for the successful social marketer. We've heard that time and time again on this show, right? Once you have a few thousand followers, which are certainly attainable with boosting, leads will begin flowing in from a variety of states. Without a referral network, you won't be able to take advantage of those leads, let alone help those people. With a network, you can generate a second income as well as gain leads in your state from your referral partners. So those partners, they're not hard to obtain. As lawyers, you've also heard on this show, right? Lawyers marketing with social media, they're sort of a semi-private club, welcomes other attorneys succeeding in social media. Once you have followers and are generating leads from social media, other attorneys with followers will welcome you into their referral networks. The easiest way to reach those attorneys is with DMs. Build a contact list of lawyers on Instagram who have followings similar to yours. Begin with those larger states. Explain that you have leads to share and would like to establish a cross-referral relationship. It's that simple to begin. It really is. Okay, shifting to today's interview, which is a great one. I speak with a business and estates attorney who has really dialed in her lead generation and service delivery so that she only has to work part-time to maintain a comfortable six-figure lifestyle. Let's get started. Hi there, welcome back to the Grow with Cara show. Today we continue our interview series with successful attorney marketers. We're taking a close look at what's working, what's not, the specific steps these attorneys took to get to where they are. And remember, these are simple steps that you too can follow to get on a similar path to growth. Okay, let's get right to it like we always do. Today, our special guest is attorney Laura Cowan. Laura is the founder and managing attorney of the law office of Laura Cowan, an estate planning firm in New York City. She's also the creator of 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyer, where she teaches lawyers how to run an automated virtual estate planning practice for just a couple hours a day. We're excited to have her here today. Welcome, Laura. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm excited to dive in. So to begin, tell us a little bit about your background, your story. Why did you launch the law office of Laura Cowan? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I launched my law firm about 7 years ago, a couple of years out of law school. And prior to that, I was a CPA for many years. And, I think I launched my own firm because I'm entrepreneurial. And I think that there's a lot of entrepreneurial attorneys out there, and estate planning is a really, really great practice area for that. And I just wanted to kind of see if I could do it. And so I launched my firm in late 2016, just doing estate planning, a lot of living trust packages. And it was not easy, but it's going well now. And now I'm sort of sharing all my secrets with the 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyer community.
I love that. I love that. So tell us about those early days. So you launched in 2016. How were you finding clients initially? How were you kind of drumming up business?
Yeah, so I think the key with estate planning, you're going to get business from all different places. There's no magic bullet, right? So you're going to get referrals and people who find you online and BNI networking and things like that. But I found that the real key to getting business as an estate planning attorney is by hosting workshops, whether it's a seminar, a webinar, whatever you want to call it, hosting an educational event where you can educate your prospects on why they need estate planning, why they need to work with an attorney, and then also speak to a lot of people in a group setting as opposed to having a lot of one-to-one consultations, which I think makes sense for some areas of law, like maybe personal injury. You've got to meet with a ton of people to find the one or two that actually have a case. But with estate planning, I think the best first step in getting business, especially if you don't have a large following and you're just starting out, is by hosting webinars and seminars. And so that was what I did from the get-go.
Smart. So you were hosting both live in person as well as online webinars. Is that accurate?
Well, for the 3 years before COVID, it was all in-person seminars, right? And I think that we had the technology to do webinars, but it just wasn't kind of the thing. Yeah. And then March 2020, overnight, I switched to webinars, and that's what I've been doing since. But I think that seminars are having a comeback. I think both work if you do it right. So I'm open to doing both, but mostly I'm just doing webinars these days because I'm traveling a lot. I'm virtual, all the stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that definitely. How are you promoting those seminars and those webinars? How are you getting folks there?
Yeah, so this is the trick, and this is a big part of what I teach in my course because it's such a good way to get business. But then the question is always, well, how do you get people to show up?
Right.
Right, that's always the trick, is how do you get people to show up? And there's a lot of different things that you can do. If you have a big budget, maybe Facebook ads are the way to go. Are the way to go. I'm not, opposed to running Facebook ads. But a lot of attorneys just starting out as an estate planning attorney, they're solo, they don't have a big marketing budget. So what we teach is more organic marketing, right? So you think of who your avatar is. Is it going to be a parent of minor children? Is it a business owner? Is it a senior citizen? And you have ad copy that speaks to those people. And then you reach out to groups of those people in your community that already exist, right? And you advertise your events directly to those people. So I always give the example in New York City. Of course, there's hundreds of parents groups in New York City, but there's one that I work with in specific in Brooklyn that's got a community of about 10,000 parents, and they're really well run. They've got a community, they've got a newsletter, they've got a website, etc. And literally for $150, I can send a dedicated email blast that goes out to all 10,000 parents.
Wow.
Not advertising a will and not advertising a free consult, but just advertising the webinar, because that's the only step that people are really ready to take at that point.
Right.
Right. So it doesn't cost much. It gets you in front of thousands of parents, and that's what we teach in our course.
That's super smart. You're right. And also not going directly for that sales pitch and that, that advertisement, right? It's about kind of more top of the funnel. Anyone in that demo may be interested in attending that seminar, that webinar. Yeah, I like that. So basically, finding local groups, communities of folks who are in your target, demographic, your target audience, and seeing if there are promo opportunities through those groups. It sounds like what you're suggesting.
Yeah, that's very well put. I'm gonna copy that language. Looking for promo opportunities in that group. I like it.
Yeah. So tell us now, how big is your team? How many folks are working at the firm now?
So I have always wanted to maintain just a boutique law firm. It was never really my goal to grow, that big. And that's one of the reasons that I started the 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyer. My marketing for that tells people, I'm doing probably $30,000 to $40,000 a month doing virtual estate planning, which means I do all of the meetings via Zoom, except the signing. And I only devote a couple of hours a day to my practice because that's about all of the revenue that I want and about all the work that I want. So I have me, I have an assistant, I have a paralegal, someone who answers my phones. But it's not really our goal to grow much bigger than that.
Right. I love how streamlined that is. About at what percentage pace is the firm currently growing, Laura?
Well, it's not, because I'm devoting so much time to the 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyer.
That makes sense.
But it would be growing, more if I was focusing more on the law practice. But it's as big as I want it to be right now because I'm very entrepreneurial and I've got other businesses that I'm running. So
yeah, you're a CPA as well, right?
Yeah, I was a CPA for many years before law school, which shocks even me, to be honest. Like the letters behind my name, I'm like, what did I do?
That's great. That's great. So at this point, and we'll get to our lifestyle lawyer in a second because I'm very interested in that, and I know our audience will be as well. But about what % of your revenue are you spending on marketing and advertising for the firm at this point? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Fortunately, I don't spend really anything on marketing, right? Now, it didn't start out like that. In the beginning, it's hard to get clients when you don't have a reputation yet. You don't have a bunch of 5-star reviews. But at this point, if I want more business, I throw a webinar on the calendar. I advertise with the group that I spoke about that costs about $150. And because I've dialed in my webinar presentation, I've dialed in the sales script and all of that, I generate enough business from that, plus referrals and people who find me online to get my 30 to 40,000 a month without really spending anything on marketing.
That's great. I love that. Tell us a little bit about how you're kind of positioning the webinar. How long is it? What are you calling the webinar that's attractive for your target audience?
Well, the webinar is about 45 minutes plus questions at the end. And, there's some schools of thought that say people don't have the attention span even for 45 minutes. And I get that. But what I found is that, with estate planning, people have got to take some time to be educated before they understand why they're even buying an estate plan. And you can't do that in 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
So when I market the webinar, I make it really clear. This is going to be 45 minutes. You're going to get all the information that you need, that you would get in a one-to-one consultation. So just devote to the 45 minutes. We'll have Q&A at the end. And I think when you set those expectations, then people know. If you just spend 15 minutes glossing over some things, it's not enough to get people to take that next step. And then in terms of what you call it, there's a bunch of different options. Estate planning for parents. I guess the thing here that I would recommend is pop it into Chat GBT.
Yeah.
And a whole slew of really great names will pop up.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, help with.
But when you're thinking about marketing, I think the name matters, but I also think the ad copy that you use, this is something that you want to think about, matters. What you don't want to do is advertise a free estate planning webinar, right? Nobody wants to go to that, right? I don't want to go to that.
Right.
What you want to do is advertise, parents, have you named guardians for your minor children? That's what's going to get people to sign up.
Hitting on those pain points or those potential challenges in your target demographic, I feel like is definitely the way to go. And I can imagine if someone is sitting through a 45-minute webinar, they are pretty darn qualified by the end of that webinar, right? So that, the likelihood of them hiring you, of course, I would assume is fairly high at that point.
Yeah, definitely. They've gotten to know you. They've gotten a lot of information they didn't have before. And then you're going to spend, and this is the mistake that most lawyers make, they don't spend enough time at the end selling the next step in the process. So you've got to have that strong call to action. I think what most lawyers do is they feel salesy. So they say, okay, if you have any questions, give me a call. And then nobody calls and like, oh, it doesn't work. You've got to be willing to sell that next step. And all the benefits of the next step.
Okay, I was going to say, what is that call to action for you? What is that next step, and what is the value to the attendee?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of options, and I recommend that people play around with these. One is at the end of the webinar, you might want to consider going over your fees and actually revealing your fees now that your audience has been educated. And then the call to action would be to basically to come in and hire you. You would say you've gotten all the info that you would have gotten in a consult. You've learned about our packages and our process. If you're ready to move forward, book a design meeting and bring your checkbook. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's one option. And then another option, if you don't feel comfortable revealing your fees at the webinar, is just to encourage people to come in for a consultation. And then you're going to spend a lot of time selling the benefits of the consultation. Even if you don't hire us, you're going to leave more clear than ever about what you really need and don't need to protect your family.
Yeah, you have some really great copy on your website that really explains the value of that free consultation, right? It's there's no charge for that, and whether or not they hire you, they're still walking away with a lot of value.
Yeah, and the other tip that I would say about that is that the consultation is, I always tell my students, don't call it a free consult. At least, give it a name of some sort. I call mine the peace of mind planning session. And even if you're not charging for it, I recommend giving a value, right? So you can tell people it's normally $450, but we're going to waive the fee through the end of the month or something like that. Compare that to free consult. It's the exact same thing, but people are going to put a lot more value if it has a name and a value attached to it.
Absolutely. All about the branding and the message for sure. Laura, let's talk about social media. You have an impressive following. You're at the Laura Cowan, right? Yeah, at the
Yeah,
Laura Cowan.
Laura Cowan wasn't available, so I had to take the Laura
Yeah,
Cowan.
yeah, that's good. On Instagram, you have more than 56,000 followers. Tell us about your approach on social media. Tell us about that.
Social media is a really great way for attorneys to get in front of people. And I just started organically, just sort of, building and posting. And I think we were talking about this earlier. I recently sort of did a refresh on my Instagram. So I had a bunch of posts that I just deleted because I wanted to rebrand a little bit. So but my social media is really aimed at, we do a little bit of business law as well. So we do trademarks, LLCs, contracts, things like that. And there are so many entrepreneurs on Instagram, business owners worldwide. And I love the entrepreneurial community because I really associate with that. And so I just started off with a goal of just helping people figure out what the heck's going on when they're starting a business
Right. Yeah,
and
there's
making posts
go
that are
ahead.
helpful that way.
Yeah. I was going to say there's so many, you speak directly to so many unique challenges of the small business owner, of the entrepreneur, and that community is really strong. So just to be clear, so the audience knows, yeah, we talked about this earlier, but you do have 56,000 followers on at the Laura Cohen. Uh, it appears as though you've only been posting for a few weeks, but you actually kind of rebranded, refreshed, you wiped all of those previous posts. The previous posts, were those more estate planning focused, or was it
They
just
were they were a combination, but they were just kind of all over the place from a
okay?
brand
Okay.
perspective. So they just kind of looked ugly. And I was like, I'm just going to start from scratch.
It really looks nice now. It does, for sure. So, tell us about your start on social media. How did you get into it initially? Are you only on Instagram? Are you also posting to TikTok?
I'm only on Instagram. I'm not opposed to TikTok. It's just not something that I've kind of gotten around to yet. But yeah, right now I'm just on Instagram, and it was just kind of an organic, start. Just I think posting every day, having strong calls to action. Always making it clear how people can reach you, and I think just trying to distill the information into as basic, like a little nugget of information as you possibly can. People don't want to read, a ton, but if you can just give them a little bit of value, just kind of by glancing at that post, that's going to go a long way.
Is social media a lead driver for the firm?
Shockingly, it is. And that came as a real surprise to me because people don't necessarily think of, and there's people who will say things like, oh, you found your lawyer on Instagram. How good can they be? Which is just crazy. It is, though. I think if you're genuine and you're giving legitimate tips and then people reach out, I get a lot of business. Not as much estate planning business because I can only do estate planning in New York. But entrepreneurs worldwide who need a trademark, need an LLC, I get a lot of those through Instagram.
That's smart. That's really, really cool. So, are you getting direct messages? Are they calling the firm? How are those leads typically coming through?
We get they send me a DM and then we move them into a funnel depending on what they need. If it's a trademark, LLC, something like that.
Perfect. And how often are you posting? What's kind of your goal when it comes to social media?
I try to post once a day.
Yeah.
And I've got an assistant who helps me with that. Yeah, but we post once a day.
Okay. And videos, I don't see a ton of videos on the profile yet, but are you planning to post more video, more reels?
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing that going forward because that's I think much more effective, and you probably know as much about it as I do, but videos are kind of the way to go, right? So
Right.
we'll be doing more videos in the future.
Good, good. Where do you kind of find inspiration for those new topics, either video topics or otherwise that will resonate?
It all comes from my own business. I mean, I think I'm in a somewhat unique scenario in that I am an attorney, I am a former CPA, and I am an entrepreneur who started, 3 businesses now. And so all of the things that I'm sharing with my audience are things that I have thought about and dealt with in my own businesses. So there was a time when I didn't know how to set up my LLC and I had to figure it out. Right. So I'm thinking of that not only from a legal and a CPA's perspective, but also from a, well, I've got my own LLC. What were the things that I learned that were helpful? And so a lot of the inspiration just comes from my own experience.
Absolutely. Can you think of any topics specifically that seem to really perform best or seem to really resonate?
There definitely are. Whenever I post something that says, start your LLC, even if you don't have a lot of revenue,
Uh-huh.
that one is, people are really, really, they really respond to that because I think that there's this idea out there that you have to make a lot of money before you need an LLC. The other one is how you should sign contracts, right? You don't want to necessarily sign contracts in your business under your name. You want to sign them as a member of your LLC because that'll bind the business and not you personally. And those are kind of light bulb moments, I think, for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, yeah, good tip. I could see that being very shareable, right? Entrepreneurs sharing those tips. That's great. So you mentioned obviously lead flow through Instagram. How many leads would you say on average, either per week or per month, you're getting through Instagram?
And I would say 5 to 10. And it would be more if, we're still sort of building out how we want to help people who find us through Instagram. So it's definitely something that we could ratchet up.
Yeah.
But we get very good quality leads from Instagram, really great people, really great entrepreneurs, people I'm very happy to work with. So it's great.
That's great. So 5 to 10 per week or per month?
No, per week.
Oh gosh, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
That's huge. Tell me about kind of your process. Do you shoot on your iPhone? Do you have help? Who's editing? Who's posting? How is all of that working?
Yeah, I've got an assistant. I've got a full-time assistant who's a total rock star. She's a virtual assistant and it's her job. So we've got we have a calendar that we sort of use and I give her the ideas and she kind of pulls it all together and posts it for me.
Nice, nice. Are you boosting any of your Instagram posts? Are you putting money behind them?
I do. And I do that mostly to get more followers. You know how when you post, they ask you what's the goal here, and the goal is usually not necessarily to get a client, but just to get more people aware of my page. But the Instagram makes it so easy. You boost, and then you can see the stats, and you can see what's working and what's not. I mean, it's great.
And it's pretty, you can get results for pretty affordably, right? I mean, how much are you spending to boost typically?
Not a lot, maybe a few $100s a month.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's great. Is that kind of what you would attribute most of that follower growth to? Is the boosting?
Yes, I would say, yeah. I think it's just been organic.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah, the boosting has been a big part of it. You want to get your name in front of as many people as possible, and then you want to have content that people are relating to.
Right, right. That's great. What about traditional? You kind of touched on Facebook ads a little bit for the firm. Are you running any Facebook ads now, or have you in the past?
Well, so the funny thing about Facebook ads is I run them for 2 Hour Lifestyle Lawyer, and it really makes sense for that business model. I've never run them for my law firm, and it's not because I'm opposed to it, but more because I'm just not looking to grow that big of a law firm. And I've always gotten as much business as I want, just doing organic marketing like we spoke about earlier. So if you're on this call, I'm not saying that Facebook ads don't work or anything like that. I'm just simply saying it depends on how big you want your practice to be. So I've never really done that because I've never had to. And I think that's a nice thing. It's nice knowing you can get estate planning clients without spending a lot of money on ads.
Right, right. And I love how your approach really allows you to kind of, scale up and scale down, kind of turn that dial based on, availability or just how much business you want to bring in. That's really smart, really, really cool. Okay, let's talk about, so how does 2 Hour Lifestyle Lawyer kind of fit into all this? Tell us a little bit about the program and why you launched it.
Yeah, so I launched 2 Hour Lifestyle Lawyer about a year ago. So I did estate planning for 3 years pre-COVID, and I've done it now 3 years post. And a lot of things are the same, but a lot of things have changed, not only in how you can deliver your services as an estate planning attorney, but I think the kind of business that lawyers want to have. So I think one of the reasons our course has been so successful is because lawyers, we finally figured out we don't necessarily want the huge paycheck. You know, if you look at people who are marketing to attorneys, it's always the same. It's we'll help you build a 7-figure law firm, you know, go from 0 to 1 million in 6 months. And that's how they're reeling people in. And what I figured out is that a lot of lawyers don't actually want a 7-figure law firm. And if you do, that's great. But what a lot of people want post-COVID is they want to be able to work virtually, which you can do with estate planning. They want to be able to make $10,000, $20,000 a month consistently and not have to work full time, and to have control over their schedule so they can pick up their kids from school and all the different things. Right. And so that's what we teach in 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyers, how to have an estate planning practice that you can run from anywhere, which you couldn't do pre-COVID. You were really tethered to the office. That you can run, you know, part-time and make a good living using your law degree while still having a life. And we've really hit on something here because there's a lot of interest in the program. And I think it's because lawyers are just sort of tired of working all the time.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. How can folks watching learn more? Because I know they will want to. Where can they go?
Yeah, so we've got our website, 2hourlifestylelawyer.com, and the 2 is the number. Go to the website, and there's going to be a place there for you to schedule a call. And we do discovery calls several times a week. I host the call. It's usually me plus 3, 4, 5 attorneys. It's a small group. And what we're going to do is just spend some time talking about how you can launch a virtual estate planning practice working part-time. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the program, the way to enroll. And basically what it is it's an online course with 10 modules that you can watch on demand. And it ends up being about 20 hours of video training. And then we've got 2 months of live group coaching. So we do coaching calls every week as well. And the really cool thing is I give you my webinar slides.
Wow.
Because as we know, right, a webinar is only going to work if you say the right thing, right? You've got to have content that converts. So I give you my slides in the program. I teach you how to host these webinars. And I give you my sales script as well, because any estate planning attorney knows it's frustrating to sit in a meeting only to hear things we need to think about it. Mm-hmm. Right. So our sales script and our sales process is part of the course as well.
That sounds hugely valuable. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I mean, I could see this being great for even non-estate planner, non-estate planning attorneys, right? Looking to kind of, either supplement their income or kind of make a pivot. So I think that sounds great.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people in the course who are brand new to estate planning. Right. And I tell them, you're welcome. We've got a module that teaches you the basics, and we've got weekly coaching to get you up to speed on the substantive law so you can start servicing clients for basic wills, basic living trusts as soon as possible. So we will help you learn the estate planning basics in the course.
That's great. That's great, Laura. I always like to ask, are you using AI in your practice, either for marketing or in your daily work?
Yes, we are really digging into AI. We're using it now for the obvious things, right? It's writing email content for us, newsletter content, blogs, sales copy, all of those things. Another trick that I'll share with the community is, don't pay someone else to do this for you anymore, right? AI can do this for you. So if you're paying someone a hefty monthly fee to write blog articles for you, stop right now. Because ChatGPT will write that for you in about 18 seconds. Yeah, we're getting into that with the firm.
Nice. It really is incredible. The opportunities are endless. It's amazing. So Laura, before we wrap up, if a lawyer watching only has time to adopt 1, maybe 2 of your tips, what would you recommend?
My recommendation is, if you're an estate planning attorney, you've got to start hosting events, right? You've got to start hosting webinars and seminars. And when you're hosting those events, try to market organically, market to your target market in your community. It's going to be much less expensive. And then when you're presenting, you're going to spend some time talking about estate planning and wills and trusts, and that's all fine. But don't end the presentation without spending a good 10 minutes talking about your firm's process and the next steps in the process. You've got to lead people to taking that next step. And so you've got to have that call to action.
Excellent advice. Yeah, don't invest all of this time and effort into creating, the webinar, getting people there, and then not taking that last step to help them kind of convert in that call to action. Absolutely. I could see how, a lot of attorneys I talk to, they're uncomfortable with kind of the sales pitch, but it shouldn't be looked at as that, right? It's additional value. They are there because they are interested in your services and how you can help them. So help them get to the next level, right?
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to think of it as a sales pitch. Think of it as you're educating your community. And I'll tell a very, very quick story here. The very first seminar that I ever held, I'll never forget it. I had 6 people show up to a church on the Upper West Side of Manhattan in 2017, and I was so nervous. I thought I was going to die. But I got up there, I gave my presentation, and afterwards, one of the women came up to me and she said, I was really nervous about signing up for this and showing up, which I thought was a really weird thing to say. But she said, then she went on to say, I was nervous because I thought you were going to make me feel stupid. And I've never forgotten that, because what it taught me was that, people want this information. They care about taking care of their families. They want to do the right thing, but they're intimidated.
Yes.
So if you are able to give them helpful information in a way that doesn't make them feel stupid, you'll never lack for business.
I love that. Excellent advice, Laura. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
So much good stuff from Laura today, right? Here are the key takeaways I see. Number 1, sponsored email blasts can be marketing gold. Whether promoting webinars or seminars or directly pitching your legal services, finding an email list of local and engaged prospects can give your practice a major lift. And paying $150 a blast to 10,000 prime prospects like Laura does gives this tactic killer ROI. Number 2, most lawyers begin with lousy sales skills, right? I mean, unless you had a selling job prior to your legal career, you would likely benefit from sales training. Asking for the order, that's sales 101. But as Laura states, many lawyers need to be reminded of this critical step. So make sure a call to action is present in all your client conversations, whether one-to-one or in more of a group setting. Number 3, align your services with the leads you can affordably generate. Laura started out serving parents with estate planning services, but added trademarks, LLCs, and contracts for entrepreneurs to, of course, further serve the entrepreneurs who were using her estate planning services and to take advantage of the nationwide leads generated on her Instagram. And lastly, number 4, boosting. Did I happen to mention boosting? Laura is the 3rd lawyer in just the last 2 months of interviews who has told me that she built her impressive number of followers by spending a surprisingly reasonable amount to boost her posts. As you may have heard me mention in the past, our own boosting tests with our Amplifier program, our own boosting tests in dozens of the social media accounts we handle have delivered the same great results without a large budget. I hope Laura's part-time approach to legal entrepreneurship has broadened your view of what success can look like and really given you some marketing tips you can apply at your firm. My next interview is with an injury lawyer who didn't let his partner's lack of enthusiasm for social media keep him from building a really impressively large TikTok presence, a nationwide referral network, and wildly successful mass tort social ad campaign. Okay, we'll see you next time. Keep marketing. Bye.